This is Rising Phoenix Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Rhodes. This podcast is for men struggling with an unwanted divorce. I interview experts on divorce, mental health, and I provide insights gained from my own divorce journey. You are not alone. Join me. Hello, and welcome to the show. This is episode 217. This is obviously a solo one, so let's jump into these new locations. First on the list, Paris, California. You listened to the last episode 216. Midlothian, Texas. You also listened to 216. You're gonna get a little bit of a theme here. Next up, Pensacola Beach, Florida. I spent 9 months of my life in Pensacola, in the Navy, long time ago. Very formative years. I turned 21 in Pensacola. I had my 21st birthday on the beach in Pensacola. So lots of great, fantastic, outstanding memories from my time in Pensacola. I was only back once. That was maybe 2 years ago. I know I flew into Pensacola and then drove to Rosemary Beach it was a work thing. Anyway, lots of fun was had in Pensacola, Florida. Last, not least, Uden, North Brabant. You listened to episode 1. Recorded a very long fucking time ago. So, I don't want to cover too much because sometimes I tend to do that. This is what I will say. Coaching, I am coaching again. I have one client currently. One at a time seems to be pretty sustainable. I think I could do 2, pretty sure. But it's going very, very well. I'm so very proud of him. He is killing it. And hopefully someday you'll hear from him yourselves. So if you are interested in work with me, send me an email, risingphoenixpodcast2020@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook or fucking wherever. Okay, so this, like I said in the last episode, I was going to do sort of a part 2. Now, some of this is going to be kind of repeat, but I'm trying to explain it in a way. By the way, we're talking about internal family systems. I'm going to try to explain it in a way that works for me, or I mean that applies to me. So I'm going to give you the example and then talk a little bit about myself. And I think I did that, but I just wanted to do it a little bit more detailed than I did the first go round. So the concept is, you're not just one person, you are many parts. And again, I just love that view. It just resonates with me. And I'll cover like all these parts to just kind of lay it out for you. So I'm not just Michael, the podcast host, or Michael, the divorce coach, or Michael, the sales manager, or Michael, the father. I'm also made up of other sort of higher level parts. Now, if the coach and the podcast host, there are elements of my IFS parts. I guess I can call them IFS parts, but not. I don't think they are just one part. I think it's a conglomeration. Although I think there are some themes. Anyway, I'm fucking rambling a bit. The first part is the manager. This is the sort of the executive in a way. He's very proactive with his protection. So for me, this is the guy who started the podcast, who decided to be a coach, who wants to make sure that I'm doing things so that I'm never disposable, so that my worth comes from my actions. This is why I joined the military. This is why after the military I got my bachelor's degree and then I got my master's degree. Always trying to show my worth through my actions. I don't know if you can relate to that, but that is who I am. I feel safe when I am doing something, but more specifically doing something of value that you can't take from me. You can't take any of those things that I just mentioned. You can't take them from me. There are 217 episodes of this podcast. You can't take that from me. I serve my country honorably. You cannot take that from me. I have a bachelor's degree in business management. You cannot take that from me. And on and on and on. So that's my manager. That's the person who is going to do shit and get shit done to show his worth. Now, this manager gets fucking tired. I can assure you that he does. And so what happens then? What comes in? It's the firefighter. This is sort of the guy. So when the so what is the purpose? The purpose of the manager is, well, I think I said it, is to make sure I feel worth by action, that I'm not worth less, that I'm not disposable, that I am important and significant. But I can't be active 24/7. Obviously, you have to sleep a little bit, but also I get fucking tired because being the manager of all those things is fucking tiring. So then what comes in then at that point? Now, there are a couple other things that, not just being tired, that will trigger it, but something when the manager can't manage out of pain. So if you have an interaction with someone and they're like, you're a fucking idiot. You're so goddamn stupid. Like if I have a negative interaction at work, someone is very negative towards me, I can't manage away from those feelings. I mean, sometimes you probably can, but in general, if people say something very, very hurtful or disrespectful or whatever, it gets past that manager because the manager's like, I got nothing for this. So the firefighter steps in. I don't like this term because when I think of firefighter, I sort of, because of fire, it makes me think of like it's only anger, but it's not anger. It's also numbing. So it could be where you just tune out. You're like, fuck it, I don't care. Like if your boss is a dick to you, and then you're like, all right, fuck it. Well, I'm not going to be working hard the rest of the fucking day, or the week or what the fuck ever. So that it's not just, it can be anger. It can be distracting, like doom scrolling. It's just sort of anything that can avoid emotional pain that the manager can't manage his way out of. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's they don't care about, it's not about long-term goals. It's not about, if I check out, what will people think of me? Like at work, if I'm not doing my job, if I'm not on this putting out podcast episodes, what will people think of me? The firefighter's like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm just going to do whatever I can to numb or not avoid. In a way, it's avoidance because you're not dealing with it, but it's not just anger. Although that's, for us men, I think that is a big part of it. And so what are these two parts, essentially, manager and firefighter? What are they trying to do? Well, like I said, with the manager, it's trying to avoid pain, and same with the firefighter. And that pain is what it's sort of, I don't know if it's the core wound, right? They call them exiles. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience. Now, let me back up to the firefighter. My firefighter in the beginning of the divorce was a couple of things. He was fucking angry and he did a lot of partying. It was whatever I needed to do to numb me out. And anger will do that because it is a distraction. It doesn't let you feel the core issue, the pain, right? And obviously, if you're partying, you're numbing your body and every goddamn thing else. So that's That's what my firefighter did in the beginning of the divorce. Now I think while anger can bubble up to the surface, I think sometimes for me it's probably just numbing out or disconnecting. That's probably a more accurate description. It's not really, I mean, it is numbing out, but it's the action is just disconnecting and laying on the couch and scrolling on my phone for too fucking long. So anyway, so that's me. Those are my parts in an IFS sort of view. The other part is the exile. This is the part that's trying to be protected. And again, I didn't name these fucking things. I don't know why it's called the exile necessarily. I think it's because it doesn't it's trying to keep you away. So it's the for me, the core wound is the 5-year-old me. And like I said in the last solo one, I'm going to get more specific on my life essentially in the future. So I don't want to dive too much into this, but the core wound for me was the 5-year-old little me. And he was just looking for safety and comfort. And anytime there was anything that made it feel unsafe, or that part of me feel unsafe, or I should say, if there's any part of me that felt unsafe, it tapped into him, and then the exile or the manager, or I'm sorry, or the firefighter. This fucking gets a bit complicated. The firefighter steps in and tries to keep that part away. So that's why it's called exile. I'm not a fucking expert, but this is helping me. This has helped me because when you're going through this, you have to identify your exile. So that's your core wound. If you can heal that core wound, if you can talk to that little 5-year-old boy and make him feel safe, make him feel reassured, let him know that it's going to be okay or that you do care, then the firefighter and the manager don't have to work so hard to protect this little fella. Now, here's the sort of shitty part in a way. At least for me, there's more than one exile. So, as always, I hit the lottery. I have more than one wounded child. I've done a lot of work on that core wound, on that 5-year-old wound. And then there's a little bit older me, this sort of teenager, basically. And his wound was more around, not feeling like he was enough, feeling disposable, right? Go back to the manager part of me and why it does the things it does. That's a large part of it. So I think they're all sort of intertwined and blended. And one of the things they talk about in IFS is unblending and seeing your parts for what they are. So you can say to the manager, I get where you're coming from, but you don't have to put out a podcast episode every Tuesday, which, by the way, is going to kind of save this. But the self part, the part that is aware of these other parts and is sort of the leader, can go, okay, you're tired. You could stay up late and edit that episode and then fuck up your sleep and all that. And the manager's going, yeah, but what will people stop listening? What if people think I quit? I mean, all these things. And the self can go, it'll be okay. I see what you're trying to do, manager. I hear you, but it's going to be okay. We'll do it tomorrow. Now, for me, it's not, the more work you do, the less that these other parts are in control. So I didn't really have to have that conversation, if I'm being honest. I simply said to myself, it's late, man. Fuck it. Do it tomorrow. And that wasn't a numbing out. It wasn't a disassociation or disconnection. It was the self knowing that what I needed was rest more than appeasing my manager part. If I hurry, if I push through and I show people that I'm there and you can't get rid of me. I'm not disposable. Look at what I'm doing. Look at these things. Self is like, we'll do it later. So anyway, back to the teenage part of me. So what I did, my fighter back then, and still it was tapped into during the divorce, was he partied. Like, that's what I was known for. I barely graduated high school. I barely graduated high school. I missed 54 days my senior year. I was brought into the office towards the end of the year, and I was told if you miss any more days, we're gonna fail you. I had grades were fine. I had C's, which was pretty fucking impressive for someone who never went to school. Um, and so partying, disassociating in a way from school, disconnecting from school. That's how I managed that second exile, the teenage me. Now, I will say I didn't really uncover this second exile until I basically healed the first. Like, I feel like, and there's no diagnostic I can plug myself into to say, oh, yeah, the 5-year-old me is healed. But I feel like that's pretty true. I feel like I have connected with that wound and healed it and felt it, and I feel okay about it. Now, I'm not saying that I still don't have to be mindful of that wound, of not feeling safe, but I really feel like I've made a lot of progress, and that led to the uncovering of the teenage me. And so that's part of the work I've been doing now. Now, life decides that it wants to life on you, and things come up, and you can't. And I only do sessions every other week. You can't focus on it 24/7. It's not possible. So that's where I'm at in terms of my work in IFS, is healing that exile and also unblending and knowing sometimes why parts are doing what they're doing and saying, okay, I see that's the firefighter. All right, I get it. You don't have to doom scroll. Maybe you could take care of yourself by taking a walk or whatever, right? I'm not always the best at catching those types of things. Sometimes I think it's okay to lay on the couch and doom scroll if you're fucking exhausted. But I also think what I've been trying to do is analyze, why am I so fucking exhausted? Why is my sleep so shitty? And then looking at that and trying to figure out that. And I don't think it's in a manager type of role. It's more like, let's solve the problem so we don't have to keep struggling. And therefore, we don't have to do all these other actions to protect that part. If that makes any sense. Again, I'm not an expert. Um, so that's me. That's my IFS parts. It really is helpful for me. It really has been helpful for me to understand it in this kind of way. But I also want to do two things. I want to talk about, because one of the things that I see more than anything from a lot of the men, especially in the Facebook group, but some in the Discord too, is about being stuck. The inability to move forward, the inability to stand up for yourself, the inability to let go, the inability to imagine a scenario where you can possibly move forward in your life. So, the common question, why can't I get over her? Why can't I move on? Well, part of that is, and I think this is a blended situation, but part of that is the manager who's trying to understand it to fix it, right? And that was a big part of me in the beginning of this journey with the podcast. Is like, okay, I'm going to find experts and doctors and psychologists, and I'm going to figure this shit out. Spoiler alert, I think I kind of have, if you want to take the time to listen to all 217 episodes. But there's that manager part thinks if it can just figure it out and understand it, it will fix that feeling of I'm not enough, because it doesn't want to deal with that feeling. It just wants to not feel it. So it's like, well, if I understand it, then I can explain it, and it's her fault, or it's, oh, let me take the red pill and it's all women are fucking evil bitches. And so it's not that pain. It's not that exile that I'm not good enough. It's not that. Clearly it's not that. And so that's part of why we stay stuck. Also, the exile is blended in there as well, because it thinks that if it lets go, that the evidence that it did mean something is also gone. And so then you have to feel that pain again, which is, I mean, yeah. I was just thinking about how much that resonates with me, how kind of fucking profound that is, really. Um, so if you're staying stuck, if you're in a bit of a fog, um, or you don't care, you're disconnected, that's why you can't move forward. Like, I hate all women. Like, that's more of the fight or fighter thing. Um, and you feel like if you could just not engage with the world, like someone posted just today, like I tried dating and it's I just can't. It's doing nothing for me. Well, yeah, because there's your firefighters like, well, we don't need to feel anything, man. Let's just go through some motions, but let's not feel. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to avoid pain. So it's a blending of all these things. Now, some of these you might be like, well, my firefighter isn't doing that. Like I am dating. I just can't find anyone. That's I'm preaching to the choir. It's a whole other fucking problem. But anyway, unblending is sort of the goal in a way because it allows you to understand it's just a part of you. So if you are feeling a certain way, anger, um, apathy, whatever, it's not the totality of you. It's a piece of you trying to avoid pain. So and when you realize these things, you can have conversations. I know it sounds weird. You can have conversations and say, "Listen, manager, you don't. You can relax. It's okay. We're listening, firefighter. Hey, maybe we're not really angry at whatever just occurred. Maybe it's something else. Maybe we need to take a couple breaths and just relax." And that's sort of the goal. Is to sort of try and better understand yourself so you can manage all of these parts in a way that leads to healing. So I want to sort of go through a diagnostic with you. So if you're going through this, I'm going to try and sort of maybe point you in some directions that might be able to help. Get a therapist, but that aside, maybe you'll find this little activity helpful. So when you think about your divorce, are you obsessed with solving it? Are you constantly researching, analyzing, trying to find logic, trying to point the finger? Like, are you trying to um, answer the why? If so, then that's the manager part of you, and you're in a loop, and you're basically just trying to protect that little boy, that inside of you, from feeling rejected. If you find yourself in a fog where you can't make decisions, you're losing hours to scrolling or drinking or just being pissed off, or do you feel like you're just frozen? Then that's the firefighter part, right? That's where you are. And like I said, these things blend. And lastly is the exile check. So if you're feeling the sting of her leaving, do you feel that as a man who has the options and the ability to move on and to find other people, or do you feel like this is the 15-year-old you, the 10-year-old you who never felt chosen, who felt rejected, who felt ignored, or like they were a burden? If that's the case, then you're dealing with your exile, and I think more than anything, in a way, that's the most positive place to be because then you're in touch with that pain a little bit and you can heal from it if you explore it, if you go with it, if you realize that it's the 15 or 10 or 5-year-old you that's really feeling this, or that's where it originated. That's probably the most positive one of them all in a way. There's a lot of us, I think, that can't even really get in touch with that. We're stuck in the other two. So this week, if you feel so inclined, take some time to notice these things, to try and understand where are you at when you say things like you feel stuck, like which one of those parts resonated with you. And there is a book, I think it's called There Are No Bad Parts. I think it's sort of I can't remember if Richard Schwartz wrote one or two books, but No Bad Parts is definitely sort of the Bible around IFS, if I remember correctly. I think he wrote two books. I think There Are No Bad Parts is this. Well, he might have wrote more than two, but I think specifically there are two that are referenced, and No Bad Parts is the one that is sort of held up a little more esteem, if you will. So buy that book, give it a read or listen, however you consume things, and try to find an IFS therapist. I highly recommend psychologytoday.com has a directory. You can look up people by the modalities they use, by their insurance that they take. Obviously, location or most therapists can't do online out of state because of state regulations. Some therapists are licensed in two states. That's pretty rare. If they're close to a border or whatever, they can be. I know there are some that are in Maryland that are also licensed in PA and vice versa, or at least we're around me because we're so close to Maryland. I mean, it's not a lot, but I've seen it. So you have to make sure, unless you don't want to use insurance, and who the fuck wants to do that? Then try to find someone, even if they're not local, just make sure they're in your state. That makes it a lot easier. So I think that's all I got for this one. There's more coming. I think probably, I'm not sure which interview's coming out next. There's a couple heavy hitters. One in particular that I'm really excited about getting out. That probably won't be the next one. I think I'll probably save that for sometime, probably maybe late April. But I think unless something else pops in my noggin going forward, I think what I'm going to do, I don't know the number of episodes. It might be one, it might be two, it might be five. I don't know. Will be focused on me and my life and my story. A little bit more nuanced than you heard in episode one. I think that's what I'm going to do, but I don't know. I reserve the right to change my mind. So until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. If you are feeling alone on this journey, please join our Discord server. Becoming a Phoenix is not a solitary act. It is one achieved through community. Our Discord server is just that, a community of men fighting to survive, thrive, and rise from their divorce. Go to risingphoenixpodcast.com/Discord for information on how to join and what is contained in our Discord server. Please join us.